everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. As promised, I have my kale and white bean flatbread appetizer for you today. This is a really simple and easy recipe to make. It's nice to make it ahead of time, and then you can just, if people suddenly drop by or you're expecting guests, you can just pop the bread in the oven and then get out the topping from the fridge and put it on and warm it all up. And then I make soup out of the leftover white bean and kale mixture. And then on a night when, say like tonight, my kids have a game that goes late and my husband has a business meeting that goes late, and I never know when people are going to come home and be hungry, so I'll just have a pot of nice soup going in the crock pot. So I'm going to break this up into two videos. This first one, as I said, is for the flatbread appetizer, and then I'm also going to do the one for the soup made out of the leftovers. And I'll put the links to each other in the info bar or here on the video so that you can get to the other one if you're also interested in that one. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, you need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You need half of an onion, all chopped up. 3 cloves of garlic. You need dried sage, dried thyme, salt and pepper, red pepper flakes. You also need a 15.5-ounce can of cannellini beans. You need a big package of kale or 1 fresh head of kale, 4 cups. You need 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and you need a flatbread, and you need some Parmesan cheese. And don't worry about writing everything down as I go through it. You can find all my recipes on my blog, which I will link the list below. There are print-outable versions so that you can just go right to my blog and print it right out. Okay, you're going to need a big skillet, and it should be a big skillet that has a lid. Put your heat on to medium-high because we're going to want to saute the onions and garlic. So I'm going to put that on there and let that warm up while I finish chopping up my onions here. So my onions are all ready to go. Just get my garlic ready. Alright, so once the pan's nice and warm, we'll add the 2 tablespoons of olive oil and then add the onions. And then while those are starting to cook, I'll just finish chopping up the garlic. Alright, then once the garlic's all chopped, you just throw in the garlic and give that all a stir. Now, I forgot to mention that my oven is also preheating because we're going to toast the bread. You can either use French bread, like a baguette, and slice it into 1/2-inch ovals like that and spread it out on a cookie sheet, and then you can spray it with pan and pop it in the oven to toast it. But I saw these at the grocery store the other day, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to make it so much easier. So they are these things called flat-out flatbreads. And they're really nice. You pre-bake them in the oven, but they're already the shape and size just to make a flatbread. And you can just keep them in the cabinet. They're shelf-stable. And just, you know, people pop in or you're expecting company for hors d'oeuvres. It's great to have these on hand or in the freezer. All right, and that just goes in a 350 oven for 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, now our onions and garlic are starting to get nice and soft. In the meantime, we can open and drain the beans. So convenient to have this flip cap. I'm just going to drain off the liquid. All right, now to help bring out the flavors of the dried herbs, I like to add them to the hot pan with the onions and the garlic. 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage, and then 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. Teaspoon of salt, so we'll throw in the salt, and then a nice grind of fresh pepper. I actually like this to be pretty spicy, so you can put in 2 or 3 kinds if you want to put in white pepper. Alright, now as you can see, this is getting nice and brown. We've got all the herbs mixed in. Now at this point, I'd like to deglaze the pan with my cooking wine. You can use any white wine for this. I just happen to have this one in the cabinet. And so I'm just going to say a splash of this. It's less than 1/4 cup, so you don't really need to measure it. Just pour it in, just enough, and you see how it instantly just gets up all the brown bits off the bottom of the pan. Like, that's where all the good flavor is. And then that just kind of cooks right off, but adds flavor into those guys. All right, now the bread is ready. I'm going to dump in my beans first because I don't want that to too much of the wine flavoring to cook off. So we're going to put the beans in, mix that up. All right, and we'll grab the bread out of the oven. Okay, that's looking good. I'm just going to turn this down to simmer so I can wash this. It's really too big for this because you're eating a flatbread, so you don't want to have even though it's going to wilt down, you don't want a giant piece of kale. So I always cut it down into smaller pieces. So you need a big cutting board for this. And then we're just going to put it on top of the white bean and onion and garlic mixture. It looks small in the bag because it's just one little bag, but when it comes out, it like expands all over the place. You need a really big cutting board. Kale is pretty tough. It's not like spinach where it wilts down to nothing. It actually maintains some of its shape and crispness. So you just kind of throw this in batches. I think that's probably enough. I'm not going to use the rest. Okay, now at this point then, we're just going to put on the 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and I have my handy dandy lemon squeezer. So we just squeeze that. Now it's just going to need a little liquid to help it steam better. So 2, and there's 3 tablespoons. And then we're going to add the red pepper flakes right on top of there. Put the lid on it and let that steam for about 5 minutes. Okay, so after 5 minutes, you can check and see that the kale is bright green and kind of wilted a bit. And then you just mix everything around in there. There shouldn't be too much liquid in this. If you washed your kale, you may end up with a lot more liquid, but that's why you need to use a salad spinner and dry it. Because where it's going on the flatbread, you really don't want it to be really liquidy because you don't want it to make the bread soggy. Okay, so if you want this to be a little more garlicky, you can rub the top side of the bread with the cut side of a clove of garlic. And now it's ready to add the bean mixture. Okay, so you just pile everything on top. It is kind of loose. Make sure these are good friends you're having over because people are going to have green stuff in their teeth and it's going to be falling all over. Then you just give it a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. If you want, you can throw it back in the oven, or if you've taken it out of the refrigerator because you made it ahead, then you can throw it all back in, throw it all in the oven. The Parmesan doesn't really melt so much, so it's not going to be like a gooey cheese thing. It's just to give it a little extra flavor. Slice it into appetizer-sized sections. You can hear the bread is nice and crispy, and then it's ready to eat. And there's your appetizer. So as you can see, this makes quite a big pan of kale and bean mixture. So now what I'll do is just put this in a zipper bag and save it till I can make soup with it. Wow, that kale and white bean flatbread looks so good. I want to eat it right now. I don't want to wait for an hour until my friends come over. So I hope you enjoy the recipe. I hope you give it a try. And as always, thanks for watching and take care. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.